Thank you for Patreon now for donating to the Patreon.
Hey guys, it's Vandiazo back on the Card Fight Vanguard deck profiles. We're doing the Talk.com Scribe and Sponsor, shall we? This time we're covering Dragon Empire, Set 7, Nirvana Cross City. Not Nirvana Cross Overdress, Overdress Cross Overdress, basically Nirvana with all the overdresses and cross overdress respectively, but like Nirvana Cross as in Nirvana, Haeva, and normal cross overdress. So yeah, this deck is honestly like, it's not bad. It's less consistent than set 6 because there's definitely a lot more counter blasters and a lot less counter chargers. There's that one really cool looking grade 2 I really wanted to use, but consistently I had to say no. Fuck consistently. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get this started, and then maybe you'll see my slight disappointment in why I had to like drop some cards. But hey, it still works, so yeah. First up, we have our starter in Trickstar. So grade 0 boost, 5k shield, 5k base, continues rear guard during the this unit cannot be chosen by your opponent's card effects. So he has resist basically. He can't be called over by, well, he can be called over by stuff, but they can't really bounce him. They can't send him to bottom. They can't like retire him unless like they do mass grouping. Or no, he can't actually be chosen. So never mind. Yeah, well, no, they can't do like mass grouping of them. So Trickstar is pretty nice as a starter. If you're wondering why Trickstar is my starter, especially for like the people that are like, oh, I don't run that one grid 1 and I consistently don't draw my Trickstars. Yeah. So I was also like that when I had Surprise Egg as my starter. Then I learned after doing Cross Overdress, hey, or Overdress Cross Overdress, hey, when I run Trickstar as my starter in my Overdress deck, and in this deck, I seem to draw Trickstar on my opening hand pretty consistently, and an extra one during the turn, or like during my grade 2 turn. So why don't I just try it here and see if it works? Literally the match I tried that in for the first time, I drew 3 Trickstars by grade 2. AK, all my other Trickstars were in my hand. Just saying it works. It's stupid. I don't understand it. It's a curse. It's like the heal from Bastion grade 1 set, but it fucking works. So Trickstar is my starter, easy to use, and if you soul boss it out somehow, great for you. You get to use Nirvana to fetch it out. So all around nice card to have as a starter. Then we have our Overtrigger and Dragon Deity King of Resurgence, Red Drag Veda. Grade 0 boost, 50k shield, 5k power. Overtrigger, you may only have one Overtrigger in your deck. Reveal a trigger card, draw a card, choose one of these, give something for the turn. And if you revealed it during your draw check, activate its effect, which is you choose one of your vanguards and stand it. So all around, pretty nice. It works really well with Haeva, whose restand skill is not at once per turn. So you actually get to do 4 attacks with the same 2 units. So that's all around pretty nice. Actually, no, technically 5 attacks with the same 2 units. So that's nice. If you have another rear guard, you have 6 attacks in total, and you do it for all a counterblast of 2. Downside is, like I said before, this deck has a counterblast problem. So like the restand, kind of as much as I like it, kind of could fuck you over in the end, but it works. The Vanguard being restand is deadly, and I have yet to see it in set 7, but set 6 when I did it, fucking game. So one of Drake Veda as the over is nice to have, puts pressure on the opponent's Vanguard, don't fuck with it. Then we have our normal triggers. 3 of the front trigger, Blaze Maiden Parama, grade 0 boost, 15k shield, 4k power, continuous guard circle, opponent's vanguards are grade 0, grade 5k shield. So around nice card to have, just a 20k shield in the fronts, while I do rarely sack them now. For some reason, I guess crossover just doesn't need fronts, but even though I rarely sack it, the 10k when I do eventually sack it is very helpful because it's like having Nirvana Haeva's restand skill plus the original Nirvana's plus 10 skill is just all in one bag, which is always nice to have because it adds more power to the rear guards and it's nice for like sometimes where I have to only restand Bruins, and Bruins is obviously the weakest of the Nirvanas. So if I have like or Verenas, so if I have like another rear guard, the fronts sharing between both of them instead of just going to Bruins typically. So all around, I like Parama a lot. Definitely helps out, even if she's rare to show by. 3 copies of Parama, just a nice front. Then we have our 4 draws in Flare Veil Dragon, grade 0 boost, 5k shield, 4k base, continues guard circle, once Vanguard with grade 3 or greater, he gets plus 5k shield. Obviously, it's why it's here, not the 10k shield part, though the 10k shield part does end up helping out. Draws, just get cards into your hand, get extra Verenas, get extra Persona Rides, get extra anything really. Just, I like having the draws, it's nice to have. I don't really like running extra crits unless like it's a deck where I feel like it really wants extra crits. This deck does not feel like it really wants extra crits. I mean, you could do with extra crits, but it doesn't need it nor wants it. So, or like really wants it. So, 4 Flare Veil. It's nice to have. I like the draws. It just helps. 4 of. And then we have our 4 crits and Burning Flail Dragon. Grade 0 boost, 15k shield, 4k power, critical trigger, auto writ, and about a boosted, put it to soul, choose and make it plus 2 for the turn. All around, good card. I mean, like, I don't use its skill personally unless I really need to for like setup for bar next turn, but otherwise, it's just a nice crit to have. I sack it whenever I want to sack it. And I know that sounds like bullshit cheating anime powers, and to be honest with you, me and my friends still question how that happens, considering all I have to do is say Gito, critical trigger, and I see critical trigger, and I see this. So, all around, you know, nice burning flail. It's nice that I can call him on command, basically. Or I can call one of them on command. The rest of the remaining 3 are like 50-50 in between, but one of them I'm guaranteed. So, 4 burning flail. He's nice to have, and I have at least 1 on command at any time in the game, so 4 of a crit. Just nice sacking them, I guess. And then we have 4 regular heals in Blaze, Main, and Rona. Grade 0 boost in case shield for 5k power. Okay, we all know at this point I don't run the effect heals. I just don't like them. They're a little bit too inconsistent, and even the games that they're made for, they still could be the reason you lose instead of be the reason you win. I still remember that one game I saw where someone had like outplayed had a bunch of restand cards against Flagberg, and Flagberg ended up killing them before any of the restands went off simply because that they knew they had the heals, and Flagberg just willingly chose not to restand, and that was the reason they won, because the 15k shields did fucking nothing. So, sucks for them. Didn't win them the game, and I have that. I mean, I already had that paranoia of effect heals, but like now even the deck that required restanding to be good straight up wins against the effect heals that should damage them. Yeah, now I have like that view of I don't think the effect heals are even that consistent against the decks they're supposed to be consistent against. Like, they do something, but they don't do enough, in my opinion. So, for the regular heal, it's consistent. Even if I'll still lose on occasions, I at least like having that consistency of not having to rely on the opponent having a restand deck for them to actually be 25k shield. So, 4 Verona. Even though it's less shield in total, it is more shield most of the time. So, 4 of. Then we have our last grade 0 and our first normal unit, and that is 3 copies of Trickstar again. So I'm not about reading a skill. You obviously run them because like Trickstar is the main important card in the deck. You do need to see as many Trickstars as physically possible. Preferably just 2 though. Like once you see 2, you're fine. So all around, it's good. Helps you get rear guards, helps you do your overdress shenanigans / crossdress shenanigans. 3 of Trickstar. Then move on to our first grade 1. 3 copies of the biggest heavy hitter to begin with, Lava Mane Dragon, who I greatly question why is like he not a double rare when like his blue flame represents double rare foiling. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto rear. At the end of the battle, this guy boosted a Vanguard Nirvana, its card name. Doesn't matter which Nirvana it is. It could be Mahar, original Nirvana, or Nirvana Cross, or sorry, Hava. Put this unit to soul. Choose one of your rear guards with original dresses, and it gets plus 10 for the turn. So not only does he work for any Nirvana, he works for any overdress / crossdress. So it doesn't matter what deck you put him in, he works for it as long as it has an original dress with it. It's already amazing because he gets you soul, but he also gets you plus 10. My only gripe with this is I'm sad I can't use it because the one time in testing I got him on the board because most of the time I just had a full board immediately, but the one time I got him on the board, he died because my opponent was playing Eugene. And I didn't get to use him. It's not that I think he's bad. He's amazing. I just haven't been able to play him, but great God. Free plus 10 in a soul charge? The only thing that can make him better is if he was a Prayer Dragon, but honestly that would make him really broken and would warrant him being the triple rare of the set, or at least a double rare. So, 3 of Lava Mane, just a good card. Sadly, he's a Flame Dragon, but he does his job well, that 10k and, you know, just getting a soul card, and that's very important with bar around, so 3 of. Just a good grade 1, and I like him. I also like his heart. Then we have 3 copies of, obviously, my favorite Prayer Dragon, if I haven't made this clear enough. Flash Equipped Dragon Brahmada. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base. Autos becomes an original dress. Counter boss 1, draw 2, choose a card from and discard it. So great, you know, you can combo with Bruins in the sense where if you cross-dress Bruins on top of this, you can use this thing skill first to draw 2, drop a cross-dress, and then use Bruins to fetch that cross-dress back to your hand, so effectively you just drew 2 by only counter bossing 1. So honestly, that's pretty good. I do like him though, regardless, because in the cases where I do need to set up my hand in the early game, he definitely helps out in that regard, and he's always there when I need him to be there, and again, I just like his art. Just all around a good, solid grade 1. He also works really well in the early game just as a grade 1 that has 8k base, so fuck yeah. I like him. Good grade 1. Just a flat out amazing card, and has always been there, both in set 6 and set 7, so 3 of. Then we have our PG and Twin Buckler Dragon. Okay, so I could run the Plasma PG, but also at the same time, my view on this is Twin Buckler is like, he's been with me the entirety for Dragon Empire in total, and there are far more Dragon Empire decks than there were any other decks that I built at the time, and I felt like if I got rid of Twin Buckler in this deck specifically, the one I built it with first, I'd be like getting rid of a Luxac skill, considering Twin Buckler shows up when I need him to, so I don't really want to start stabbing deck cards in the back. So I'll try out the new PG with the next stuff. But for now, I'm sticking with Twin. So grade 1 boost, 0 shield, 6k base, continuous stun before attack. You may have up to 4 stuns on the deck, and autos put on guard circle, choose one of your units to get behind the battle, and if your hand has 2 or more cards you can have from your hand, discard it. Standard PG, not just special about it, basically that means that this is only one of the cards in your hand when you place it on guard circle, you do not have to discard, and that's honestly a pretty amazing skill, because that means you can be as aggressive as you want in the early game, and then when your opponent eventually turns the tables on you because maybe you dropped all your guarding power, because maybe you're mean, the only things left in your hand are a grade 3, most likely a Braum, and this thing kind of comes in helpful when this is the card that is in your hand, because it can just quickly save you from a big-ass Leonore swing, and then boom, you're safe for the turn unless your opponent starts stacking the over and double fucking critical. I remember that game. I did that to myself because I was playing by myself, but that was just a funny moment where over into double crit. So all around, Twin Buckler is amazing. I like them. Having that PG, you can really run any of the PGs that have this skill, but I do just prefer Twin Buckler because, you know, what's it called? Stationary Caution, Superstition. And you can say Superstition doesn't exist and things like that don't matter, but when my Trickstar theory was actually legitimately proven right over the course of 2 videos where I discussed it and then I tested it, I think I have every right to say that Superstition is true because it worked. And I said it would if I did. Just saying. So, 4 of the PG. He's here because I don't want him to stab me in the back. Then we have our last grade 1. This is a grade 1 on the ride deck, and that is Heart Pounding Blaze Maiden Reno. Grade 1 boost by K Shield, aka base. I like her look. She looks really cute. And then auto when you rode upon by snuggling Blaze Maiden Rayu. Search after 1 Trickstar, call it to rear guard and shuffle your deck. So grade is literally the exact same skill as the original Reno, just has to be done with a different grade 2. And then continues rear guard during your turn. If you have a Prayer Dragon on the same column as her, she gets +5. Never gonna happen, because even if you do Soul Blast her out, there's no way to call. Actually, there would have been a way to call stuff from drop to rear, but I chose not to run that card over the sake of consistency, which honestly I'm kind of regretting now because I don't like that card. So honestly, Reno's amazing though. Getting that free Trickstar is nice because you can call it to back center, which most people do now, or if you're me, you just call it and then you immediately cross-dress it because I have no sense of the regard of weight. Patience is a virtue that I do not have. So all around, I like her a lot. Free Trickstar and possible 5k if I did run that 1 Prayer Dragon I really fucking like. So what of Reno in the ride deck? Just a good grade 1. Then we have our first of the Verenos, which is my least favorite in terms of skill, or my second least favorite in terms of skill, simply because I am very disappointed that it didn't have a better skill. Steel Wall Equip Bruns Varina. Grade 2 Intercept 5k Shield, 10k base, a crossover dress, 1 Trickstar, and a Prayer Dragon. You may call it by stacking all of the specified units instead of normal calling it to a rearguard circle. Okay, so for those of you that don't understand how crossdress and overdress are different, overdress, because overdress you only place on top of 1 specific unit, that means it has to be placed on that same circle. So if your Trickstar's in the back row and you overdress it, that unit's staying there unless you manage to move it via other means. While for crossover dress, because you're crossing it over 2 units, you can pick either rear guard. I don't know if you can just pick either rear guard that the circles are on, or if you can just pick any rear guard circle in general, but point is, it's not restricted to the circle Trickstar is on, it's restricted to any circle really. So 3 of that, but then also auto was placed on rear guard in the crossover dress state. You may choose any card with the crossover dress ability from your drop zone other than himself and put it to your hand. So cool. Essentially, like I said earlier with Brahmada, just draw 2, then discard a crossover dress, then bounce it back, or just discard a crossover just for your ride deck, then crossover just immediately, and then just get that card back. And then continues rear guard. In this unit in the crossover dress state, he gets +5k power, cannot be chosen by your opponent's card effect, and gets +10k shield, active on both players' turns too. Cool, so more defensive Urger. I like how, if you think about it, Urger, this is obviously meant to be Urger's clone for crossover dress, but if you think about it comparatively, Urger's the more aggressive one of the 2 because he gets more power. I mean, they get the same shield value, but he gets more power and more multi-attack, but Bruns gets more defensive capabilities and more, like, consistent setup. So, you know, Bruns is how I like to see it, the defensive version of Urger, and Urger is obviously the aggressive version of Bruns. I like both of them. I think they're both good, but Bruns makes the cut here because obviously Urger doesn't have cross-dress. So, you know, just getting a free crosses back to hand is nice because it makes your ride deck discard technically free, and a 15k shield, 15k swing is pretty nice too, even though it is kind of annoying when he's your only restand target with Nirvana Haeva, because that means you're not hitting numbers unless Lava Main's constantly on rear. So 3 of Bruns just helps with consistency and defensive power, because that does actually come in handy when your deck is most of the time when you hit decks, you have very few cards in your hand that are worth guarding with because they're probably crossover dresses. Speaking of which, we have another crossover dress and Jeweled Sword equipped Gato Verina. Until I saw the skills, this was my favorite in terms of art of the two, and then when I saw the skills, this was my favorite in terms of skills. So Jeweled Verina, grade 2 and stuff I can shield, 10k base, crossover dress, 1 trick star, and 1 prayer dragon. That's what all crossover dresses are. And continues rear guard. If this unit's in the crossover dress state, he gets plus 10k power, and during the battle he attacks, your opponent would have to call, when they would call crossover in the guard circle, they must call 2 or more at the same time, and it's active on both players' turns too. So he's a guaranteed 20 whether he swings or whether he's just standing there doing absolutely nothing. So your opponent's going to have to kill him by effects if they want to kill it easily. And then if they swing into it, or sorry, if they're swung into it with it, they have to drop 2 or more cards to hand to block it. That is a very deadly skill at the very end of the game, where you've probably pressured them enough to where their hand isn't enough to block everything, so I do like it. But in the early game, this is one of the worst for Reno's, just because, like, he's essentially, go ahead, take your damage that you're forced to take, because maybe it's not worth guarding this, but now I'm giving you an extra counterblast. Or, like, I mean, you can kind of, like, get a guaranteed kill of a rear guard, but at the same time, it's, like, it's not worth it in the early game, basically. Like, sometimes it's helpful in the early game, but honestly, most of the time, it's only helpful as, like, a finisher where your opponent cannot or guard everything. Or, like, they could if it wasn't for that drop 2. So, 3 Garo, amazing skill, forces out 2 or more hand cards by attacking, as a guaranteed 20 in the crossover state. I like him a lot. He's just a good card to have. 3 of. Then we have 3 copies of our only other prayer dragon in the deck that isn't Brahmada, and even though there's only 3 of them in total, I somehow see these very consistently enough, and that is Break, Equip Dragon, or Bargo. So great chance at 5k shield, 10k base. I like his art, I don't like his skill. All always placed when his card becomes an original dress. By counterblasting 1, you may soul charge 1, choose opponent's break card, kill it. Okay. The other prayer dragon I liked is also a grade 2, and his skill was counterblast 1 when he becomes original, just call a grade 1 or less from your drop zone to rear guard. I don't remember if it had to be a prayer dragon or not, but basically just called a grade 1 or less to my memory. So I like that skill a lot, and also liked his art a lot more. The reason why Bar goes here, though, is because Bar's in here. So I like having that soul charge to get more benefits, especially because Bar eats up your soul. And being able to kill an opponent's rear guard is just nice to have. So I don't mind wasting counterblast on it. Though, again, I say I really want to run that spear one over. Like, if for some reason we get a counter charger, I honestly might drop Bargo for that card, because even though they have the same cost, I do like the calling more than I like this one. Also because I want to spam Reno more, because Reno would honestly be very dangerous if I could spam her. So 3 copies of Bargo. Nice to have. Soul charge, kills an opponent's rear guard, offers the cost of a counterblast. Why not? It's like the most plus I've ever seen for 1 counterblast. Then we have our last grade 2, and it's the grade 2 of the ride deck, and that is Snuggling Blaze Maiden Rayu at 1 copy, obviously none in the main deck. Grade 2, intercept 5k shield, 10k base, auto was behind by Chakrabarti, Phoenix Dragon, Nirvana, Haeva! I know it's Jiva, but I prefer Haeva, because that honestly sounds cooler than Jiva to me. Look at top 7, choose up to 1 prayer dragon from among them, reveal it, put it to your hand, and shuffle your deck, and then continues rear guard, which is never going to happen, because even if you manage to soul boss out, you're never calling it to rear guard. During your turn, if you have a prayer dragon and call measure, she gets +5, so cool. If you could call her early, you could definitely do some dangerous factor play with her, because that's an easy 15k, plus a prayer dragon grade 1, so 23, and then same with Renu, basically 23. So all around, would be very useful on rear guard, but, you know, not going to run into rear guard, but that is one of the best grade 2 rear guards I've ever seen before. And then just the top 7 search for any prayer dragons by running with a specific grade 3 is honestly pretty amazing, because that sets up for your ride of, you know, any of your cross dresses. I wish it was an overall search, because lately she hasn't been getting me prayer dragons from her skill. In fact, I think that like the last 5 times I used her skill, I've either only seen 1 prayer dragon or I've seen no prayer dragons. So, like, I think her skill is kind of like going against me now, but, you know, she has been useful in the past, and I know I will occasionally hit a prayer dragon, so I like using her for that. Also because I need her for Reno, so all around, Rayu's nice. I like having her. It's a free top 7 search, so why not try it out as a one-of ride deck copy? Just a good attempt. Then we have our grade 3s. 2 copies of my least favorite of the cross dresses in terms of abilities and in terms of art. I mean, like, looking at it here, it looks cool, but, like, looking at his full art, I hate, because its full art, like, has no sense of ground, because his legs stop here, so, like, there's this bunch of empty space at the bottom. And that is Flaring Cannon Equip Barvarina. So, grade 3 tender persona, 13k base. Like I said, it looks cool this way, but, like, when I take away the text and I look at its full art, it just looks ugly to me. Crossover dress, as per usual, 1 trick star, 1 prayer dragon. Act rear guard, now once per turn. If he's in the crossover dress state, you may soul blast 2, choose an opponent's rear guard, murder it. So, I think I made this clear pretty much in the video I revealed it in, where this card, in my opinion, is a worse version of Bram, because, like, how Expecta, this is Expecta, basically, so how Expecta was supposed to be, like, less multi-attack, but a bigger, stronger version of, Valiente. Instead, Bar, who is supposed to be Expecta in my eyes, kind of, like, is a worse version of Braum, because, yeah, Braum, granted, is only once per turn, and technically he can only kill 2 units, but at least he kills 2 units. It's just good for that regard. But Bar over here, is like, I have to Soul Blast double the amount to kill 1 unit. So it's like 50-50 on it. And then auto rear, which is the reason people see justifiable for that skill, which I don't, by the way. When this unit is in the crossover state, attacks a Vanguard, it gets +2 to the battle for each of your opponent's open rear guard circles. Again, another reason why I think Braum is better, because Braum in the crossover state is a guaranteed 23, and if your opponent's Vanguard's at grade 3, he's a 33. So inherently, he already has more power than Bar. And then, if your opponent has 1 or less rear guards, by counterblasting 1 till end of battle, he loses a drive. And then this unit performs drive checks. So, you know, he gets an extra drive, or like you get more drives and you combo with Haeva. You technically get a total of 4 drives that turn. But at the same time, it's like, this is the reason why the deck has so much counterblast issues now. It is just him. It's no one else. It's straight up, he's the reason why this deck has counterblast issues now. So, in my opinion, I wouldn't run him. Like, straight up, he's only here because he's a Varina. I'm not joking. He's only here because he's a Varina that has cross-dress. If it wasn't for that, he wouldn't be here. So, it's the same reason why I ran Arcs in my Nirvana build. Not because I liked him, because I had to. So, Bar is like, to me. He has definitely less power than Braum has. He has less retire. I mean, he kind of has both more and less retire capabilities than Braum has. And the drive skill is the only reason I think people see he's justifiable running him at. But at the same time, that's like the reason why you have counterblast issues. So I don't like him. He's fine. There are those games where he'll win me the game. There are the games where he'll put me in a bad situation because he'll counterblast starve me. So 2 of Bar. I don't use him unless I need to. But so typically I'll go into Braum. Speaking of which, 3 copies of Braum, because obviously Braum's my favorite crossdress. I think I made it clear at this point, Braum was my all-around favorite crossdress for both the original set and this one. So grade 3, 200% 13k base. Crossover dress, 1 trick star and 1 prayer dragon as per usual, and then continues rear guard during your turn. If you're in the crossover dress state with him, he gets +10, so guaranteedly the same number as Bar, even if your opponent has all empty rear guard circles, unless you're playing premium, they have Excel gifts. And then if your opponent's at grade 3 guard, he gets another +10, so now he's at 33, guaranteedly hitting more than Bar in D at least, and then most likely hitting him more than V. So 33k swing all around is pretty nice if you're going second. 23k swing guaranteed is pretty nice just going second anyways, or going first anyways. And then auto rear, once per turn, when this attack hits a Vanguard, regardless of what grade it is at, if this unit is in the crossover state, by soul blasting a single one, nuke a column. All around, amazing, because it chooses a column. So even if you're playing a mirror match with Trickstar, Trickstar is not being chosen by the ability, the column is, meaning Trickstar will still die. So all around, I like it a lot. Getting the ability to kill a column is nice. It literally does double the amount of kills for 1 Soul Blast compared to Bar, who does half the amount of kills for 2 Soul Blast. And not to mention the fact that he's stronger than Bar in terms of power. Again, I say the only reason I see Bar being justifiable is him getting drive checks, and that's it. So 3 of Braum. Hits numbers, always there when I need him to be. Kills rear guards for easier cost. Does everything I need. 3 copies. Just a good grade 3. And then we have our last card on the deck. 3 of in the main deck, 1 of in the right deck. Of course, my favorite new card, and that is Chakrabarti Phoenix Dragon. Nirvana. Haeva! Grade 3, 200% 13k base, act Van once per turn by discarding a single hand card, due to 1 Trick Star and up to 1 Prayer Dragon from your drop zone. Cause unit to rear guard. Okay, I think all of us can agree, like, even to the people that say, oh, well, Mahar is better than this. Okay, yes, because Mahar's a fucking grade 4. I mean, like, it has other skills that are better than it, but, like, it's a grade 4. It already has an inherent advantage over it. But, like, Haeva versus OG Nirvana, I think we can all say just by this one skill alone, Haeva's better. Because both of them have the same cost, discard 1, and it's a once per turn. But the difference is, OG can only get Trick Star, or technically any grade 0. But Haeva can get, granted, specifically Trick Star, but also any Prayer Dragon. So it can be Urbargo, it can be Brahamada. If you ran other Prayer Dragons like Ganderlight or Balcon, it can be those. So in my opinion, Haeva's like already better than Nirvana itself. That's why I hate when people compare Haeva to Mahar, because Mahar is after 4 sets of support. Haeva only has 2 sets of support so far, and we're saying that Mahar is inherently better. I mean, like, obviously, yeah, it has more support, and Mahar came in as a support card, and not as, like, a main grade, or he came as a main grade 3, but mainly as a support card. So, I do think Haeva, in terms of comparing grade 3s to grade 3s, Haeva's better. And then Auto Van, when it attacks a Vanguard or when it attacks anything, counterbalance 1, choose one of your rear guards in the cross-dress state and stand it. Okay, so in that case, it's technically worse than the OG Nirvana, because the OG Nirvana gave plus 10 to everything in the overdress state, and including itself, or not anything in the overdress state, anything that had the overdress ability, including itself. So technically it was better in that regard, because it could hit anything as long as it had that ability, while this one has to be hit something in the state. But hey, restand with a column killer if they blocked it the first time, which is amazing, because then they have to block it again. Bar, getting extra drives if you want to waste all your counterblast on, it's amazing. This thing for guard drop is amazing, and then this thing for shield value, it's like, you do it because you get a restand out of it. All around, I like the restand aspect a lot, especially because not once per turn, so you can do it again if you have the over. It's nice to have, helps you spawn out rear guards if you really need it to, and helps you get your restands. I really like those games where I'm not playing against nuke decks too, because that way if I have like an excess of grade 1s and 0s and drop, I can just slowly advance my board with cards in my drop zone. So yeah, 3 of Haev in the main deck, 1 of in the ride deck, just because it's really fun using Haev, and I like it. That's it for the deck. I hope you guys enjoyed. All around, it is a fun deck to use. I get to pretty much call Trickstar whenever I need to. Crossover dressing is a really fun mechanic to me. Getting to kill opponents' rear guards is nice. I like how it like focuses on retire now. Garo being a deadly card in final turn moves is amazing. Brian being like the death to all my opponents and forcing them to drop a total of at least 4 cards on grid 2 turn if they don't want to lose their board is amazing. And then Bar is like, if I need him, he'll come in handy, definitely. And then Bruins is the slow setup guy that I need every now and again. So, all around, the deck is fun, has consistency of defense and attacking, attacks in a different way than just restanding. It also gets rearguard kills too. What's not to like about it? It's just fun all around, and I cannot wait to see where crossover just goes next. So, without further ado, I'm going to end it here. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join Discord, follow Twitch. I'll see you all next one. Don't forget to set up your Vanguards.